Good morning. It is Thursday, May 5th, 2022, and coming to you from the Lonely Tree Media Studios in Yakima, Washington, this is the Best Lamb Sports Show. No extra music today.
Nah.
I'm your host, David Lamb. With me is my son, Parker. Say hello, Parker.
Hello, Parker.
Yeah. Typical Thursday applause. It's a good Thursday crowd in here.
It does start the day right.
Yeah. We are streaming on YouTube. We're not really streaming, I guess, are we?
Nah.
We're recorded on YouTube.
We ditched the streaming thing.
Yeah, for quality purposes.
Yeah, right. It was tough. We were having issues like keeping like internet up and not like dropping out.
Yeah, because we do this long distance, you know.
Right.
I mean, I'm in Dubai and you're in Russia, so it has a. I mean, I don't know. People are gonna think that now, probably. It's not.
Anybody who listens knows.
I know, right? So, anyway, we're on Twitter, at Lamb Sports. You can tweet us, I promise, and I will tweet back. I watch it all the time. On Facebook, the Best Lamb Sports Show. You can send us an email, lambsports@gmail.com, and you can check out our webpage. You can find the links to the past shows and the current trivia question on lambsports.com. Thanks to GoDaddy, by the way, who runs that website for us. Yay. Nice. It's nice. Well, a little plug for GoDaddy, might as well, because, can't hurt. They'll probably say, oh, you can't use our name. Well, I use your website. I'm a customer. I'm always right. NBA playoffs are in the conference. I didn't even go to the first commercial. I have it way down here. I don't even know. My things are all out of order, and now I have no idea what I'm talking about. NBA playoffs are in the conference semifinals, right? Just now starting to heat up. A couple of them. The rest of them, NHL playoffs started on Monday. Formula One's going to be having its first Miami Grand Prix on Sunday, right? And of course, we're gonna give you the USFL update and some more stuff in the second half of the show. So stay tuned for that. So let me just go ahead and do the pay the bills because that's what we need to do. The first part of the show is brought to you by The Range in Yakima. The Range is Central Washington's premier indoor shooting destination. If you haven't checked out The Range, go to therangellc.com and you'll find all of the training, membership, and VIP information and opportunities. Check out their calendar under the events tab. You can find the complete schedule of classes and activities for the month. You can enroll for most of the events and training online with just a few simple clicks. Open Tuesday through Saturday from 10 to 7, Sunday 11 to 5. Go see our friends at The Range, 1701 Garrettson Lane in Yakima. The phone number is 519-571-1449. Make sure you mention the Best Lamb Sports Show. The Range, educate, equip, and empower. So let's talk basketball because that's what we do. So let's talk about the conference semifinals. Let's just start in the East because why not? Boston and Milwaukee tied at 1-1 after Boston won 109-86 on Tuesday. Milwaukee won the first game 101-89 on Sunday. This series feels like it's going to be very competitive, but you knew that was coming. These are the 2 and 3 seeds. And I feel like while Boston has a better team, Milwaukee has Giannis.
Right. Which is a big deal.
It is a big deal. And I think what happened in game 1, Boston has to take better advantage of the time that Giannis is off the floor. Right? You've got to extend your lead or catch back up when he's not in there. And they didn't do that in game 1. And so they did much better job in game 2, and the defense came out and, only 86 points. That's really good. But Giannis had freaking 28 of them. So, yeah. So I think that series is headed for 6 or 7, but you could say it's probably going to be a 7-game series. I think that. What are your thoughts on Boston, Milwaukee?
I think it's looking boring so far.
A little, yeah.
Somebody's just blowing out the other person every game.
That's true.
That's not fun. I want to see them actually be in tight games down to the last couple minutes. I don't want to see somebody just win by 20 every time.
So even if it's a 7-game series, if they're all blowouts, it's no good.
It's not fun. I mean, so imagine that it gets to game 7 because it just goes back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. And the game 7 is, well, I guess it would be an odd number, so it would be the Bucks,
right?
Just win it by 30, and you're like, well,
Yeah.
That was an uneventful Game 7. At least Game 7 needs to go down to the wire.
Right. Last
But
possession thing.
yeah, but you just in terms of good entertainment. But yeah, it's so far it's been not fun. It's been cool to watch people get up and do crazy stuff and be exciting. But I just feel like that series is I feel like the East has some snoozers going on.
So far, you're right. I mean, you're not wrong because the other series, Miami leads 2-0 over Philadelphia. They won Monday night 106-92, and they won last night 119-103. And there's no Joel Embiid, so that's part of that. Oh, that's a huge chunk of that.
That's the most of that, yeah.
Yeah. So, and well, let's be honest, Milwaukee's been playing without Chris Middleton. So that's another thing. And they won game 1 without Chris Middleton. So I feel like if he's a healthy, that might make this tighter.
Yeah.
This series tighter. But yeah, definitely the Philadelphia cannot beat Miami without Joel Embiid. There's just no way. They don't have enough talent. So Tyrese Maxey's doing all he can. You watch Tyrese Maxey play in the playoffs? He's been fantastic.
Yeah, he's been frustrated with James Harden the whole time.
well, at some point in time, everyone's been frustrated with James Harden.
I bet James Harden's frustrated that he sold out to go make a team, and now he's he sold out to go to the 76ers where he had the best chance for a title. And now he's got no chance at a title.
Yeah. He's been on how many different teams, James Harden? He played in Oklahoma City. He played in Houston. He played in Brooklyn. And now he's in Philadelphia. So he's played on 4 different teams, and none of which have won a title with him there. So funny that they've all won titles except Brooklyn, but none of them with him there. But
being fair, the Warriors became the Warriors while he was at Houston, which
correct
sucks for
everybody in the West.
For everybody in the West.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not been a great great go of it for them.
They didn't even Houston would struggle to get out of, the first round or the second round. They would, teams like Portland beat them. Teams like, you know what I mean? They were famously eliminated early, I guess, let's say. And earlier than they should have been. But anyway, I don't know if that's not all on James Harden. But I'm just saying, you begin to question yourself, I think, at some point. How many teams am I going to play for? I'm never going to win a title.
Yeah, and in 13 and 14, they had first-round exits, also in 16. But then in 15, they made a 17-game run into the playoffs. In 18, they made a 17-game run into the playoffs.
Yeah.
And then 2 11s and a 12. So they've made some deep runs into the playoffs. Just they're not quite getting there.
And when they do, they get eliminated by Golden State.
And when they do, for all of your hard work and effort, you get eliminated by Golden State.
And that's normal. That's everybody in the West, by the way, has run into that buzzsaw at some point. Yeah. It's interesting. All right, so let's talk about the West real quick. Then Phoenix has a 2-0 lead over Dallas, and Dallas is all Luka Doncic. That's all there is. I mean, I know there's other players, and I know they can play, and they've obviously can win 50 games, but Luka had 45 in Game 1 Monday. Phoenix won 121-116. He had 35 last night, and they lost 109-129. And they got blown out by 20 points. There's nobody else doing anything. He's almost a triple double each night, but they can't win.
It's funny because I was talking with my buddy AJ, who's a big Luka Doncic fan. And I was saying going into this series, like they have no hope at all. And he was like, they've got a little hope. They've got this person and this person. I'm like, they've got no hope. I was like, they've got no answer for DeAndre Ayton. And if they do have an answer for DeAndre Ayton, then they have no answer for Miles Bridges. And if they do have an answer for him, then they got no answer for Devin Book or CP3. I was like, they just don't have hope. Like they're gonna get outscored. And this series last night was like a 6-point game with like 8 minutes left, and it ended being a 20-point game.
Yeah.
Like they turned it on and walked away.
Yeah, Dallas they're a player short, and part of the problem is you got Luka Doncic, you got your leading scorer, right, who also handles the ball. Every time they come up the floor, he's in possession of the ball. So if he's going to be your point guard and your leading scorer, right, they can't pass it to himself. So there's that. You know what I mean? So you're losing out on something there. You need somebody who can effectively distribute the ball so he doesn't have to. And they apparently don't have that or don't want to do that. that way because that's what I would do. I would go out and get myself a veteran point guard who can distribute the basketball and make Luka able to free him up to move, get him open, blah, 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 blah. But take the pressure off. Somebody else who could actually score effectively, that would also be helpful.
Yeah, they I'm looking at their plus minuses for the game, and Luka was a minus. He was a minus 28.
Yeah.
On the day, just not everyone on that team can't do what they need him to do to win. So, and that includes Luka. Luka can't play defense that way. So he needs somebody to take the defensive load off him, but he also needs somebody to take the scoring load off of him.
Right.
So it's and they didn't shoot bad. They shot 45.6 and 41.5. So they had a pretty good day shooting wise. I will say that Phoenix shot 64% from the field and 52% from three. That'll do it.
And anytime you allow the other team to go on a 22-5 run in the fourth quarter,
yeah, not great.
That's gonna hurt your chances of winning. 23-5 technically, or is that right? Yeah, 23-4 run in the fourth quarter. I'm like, geez, that's the game was close all the way through the middle. Phoenix had the lead early, and then it was close in the middle, and then next thing you know, Dallas they're right there. It's going in the fourth quarter. Yep, okay, and then boom, it's over. Sorry. And
Luka had 7 turnovers.
That's a mark of a good team, though, is being able to take over down the stretch. So
yeah,
Phoenix is a good basketball team. They are more complete, have more players that are at a higher level throughout the lineup. That's the thing.
I just think they have more pieces that can match up better. Like even when you're looking at let's say Phoenix wins this game, and let's say my prediction's true, and that Golden State wins the other game. Even with that game, you think, oh well, they don't have a center who can defend DeAndre. And it's like, yeah, but they got Draymond Green, and he's pesky for his size.
Right.
But Dallas doesn't have anybody like that to defend DeAndre Ayton and what he's bringing to the team. So it's just a series that I think they're outmatched for. They need another guard, another small forward, something like that, and they need a much more efficient center to even be competitive. Otherwise, they're going to keep going 0-2. Maybe beating the Jazz, but that's it.
Yeah, and they're what, fourth? They were the 4 seed, so Yeah. I mean, we expect Phoenix to beat them, but you don't expect it to be easy, and
it's looking easy.
It's looking pretty easy. Anyway, the other series is the interesting one. Let's talk about Memphis Golden State for a minute, because that series is tied at 1. Golden State won the opener 117-116 on Sunday. Memphis came back and won 106-101 on Tuesday night. The series, Draymond gets ejected in game 1 for a flagrant foul that we've kind of decided was probably a flagrant one. And his past history, bumped it up 1. And then the second game, Dillon Brooks gets ejected like 3 minutes in, and for hitting Gary Payton Jr. on the head as he was breaking away. And he hit him. I mean, he did. He was trying to go for the ball. I mean, you can see it. I don't think his intention was to club him in the head, but he was thinking he would go up for, anyway. He comes across the body, hits him in the head. Peyton goes down, breaks his elbow. Which is pretty bad.
I think that the end of it all definitely makes the beginning of it all look that much worse.
Right. Yeah, the end result makes you go, ooh, this was pretty harsh. And I mean, I don't think that was the intent, but I think it is still a flagrant 2, for sure. That is well more a flagrant 2 than the Draymond one. Just because of the way it occurred.
Still think it's lacking intention.
Right.
But yeah, definitely not nearly as bad.
And that's the other thing, is that referees have a hard time determining intent. You know what I mean? In the heat of the moment in the game, unless a guy turns around and decks the guy, that's intent.
Right.
But other than that, if it's a basketball play, and he was trying to block a shot, but you just happened to not do it very well. It just happened to be mistimed and poorly executed, and next thing you know, guys flying through the air. I have no problems with Brooks' ejection in game 2. I have a little problem with Draymond Green's ejection in game 1. Not a lot. A little. I mean, you know what I mean? It's that borderline for me where I go, yeah, but you still shouldn't have done it. So you put yourself in that position to get called flagrant 2. So.
Yeah, but I mean, as everyone has come on and said, is that if that's LeBron, is that a flagrant 2?
Well, LeBron's a different league. That's sorry.
Yeah,
That's a
sure,
whole
sure.
nother league.
If that's if that's John Morant, is that a flagrant two?
Good question.
Probably not. If
Well,
that's Boogie Cousins, absolutely flagrant two.
it could be.
Yeah, if this was who it was, elevated it in a little of an extra level, I think,
So,
and I think that right there is an issue.
but this is what I'm saying is that you've put yourself in a position for that to be called a flagrant two by past history. You've put yourself in that position. It's not the referees doing it to you. They didn't come out one day and you committed a regular foul. They say, "Oh, that's a flagrant foul," and they start they're jobbing you on every foul. You have committed a lot of hard fouls, and that's why.
But this is the referees carrying bias. That is their fault.
Okay, but you
Them,
did,
them
but you
carrying
did it
bias
though.
from one game. Them carrying bias from one game into the next is their fault.
Hold on, but
You
that's one call. I'm not talking about every call. What I'm saying is every call the referees weren't biased against you right from the get-go. That is not true.
Well, we don't know that.
Well, the very first,
but some of them are, but they're not as impactful as an ejection.
some of the
That we do know, yeah.
the first time you actually committed a flagrant two and got thrown out, right? The referee didn't just go, "Oh, I don't like you. I'm calling a flagrant two." That's not
Right.
normally how that works. I mean, it could have, but I doubt it. So what I'm getting at is by committing more fouls than other people, than John Morant. Let's use him as an example. By committing those fouls like you do, and you've had a lot of hard fouls, right? And it's usually big men, let's be honest, right?
Yeah.
Okay, because they put bodies on people and they're enforcers and that's their job. But you're going to get hard fouls from those guys. By doing that in the past, you've put yourself in a position to have a referee be biased against you because he's seen you do it before. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're just a new referee and you've never seen an NBA game and you come out, then maybe that isn't. Maybe that is a flagrant one. But the other guys have said, you've done this before a lot. And so now, you know what I mean? I'm not giving you the benefit of the doubt anymore. That's
Right.
the thing.
Right, but you're going to give it. But that's the thing is if that call isn't the same for anybody who does it, then you're no longer officiating.
They aren't. Though.
You're no longer officiating dispassionately. You're no longer officiating without bias. You're officiating knowing that you're going to call the game differently for different people.
They aren't. They always do that though. It's always been that way. Yeah.
I'm not saying they don't. I'm not saying that's a new or surprising thing. I'm saying that in itself means that the game is different then.
Right.
The game is different. It's no longer your game. It's their game. And that changes with them.
It absolutely is. And it always has been and it always will be.
So whereas this is not a flagrant with this set of refs or that set of refs or this set of refs or that set of refs or for these players or for those players or in this stadium or in that place, it is today, here, now, because it's them.
Sure. But
and that's the issue with it. Is it a flagrant two if you have to say that the refs it's because of these refs?
If you've ever heard an NBA referee say, "Hey, Ricky, you're not getting that call."
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean
exactly.
Yeah,
it means that the game is not being actually officiated.
It's not fair.
It's being judged by these group of guys, and it's a little different.
Right.
That's the issue I have with it. Is that this call is not a flagrant one for other people on that same court at the same time, but
Correct.
it is for him.
Well, now we don't.
That's an issue.
We don't actually know
unlikely.
that. It is
it's
unlikely. Right, okay.
But because it's Draymond,
right.
And he knows it. I mean, he's willing to call it out too. Like, yeah, I got a reputation, so that's why they're calling it. Right. And the NBA has been, a little silent on that whole point.
Yeah.
And then he got elbowed in the face last night.
Yeah.
Big old swollen eye, and he couldn't get a call.
Yeah.
You talk about contact, right? Like, where's that one?
Yeah.
This series has been full of missed calls.
And if it keeps going like this, it's going to get heated. You're going to see a game 4 or 5 or something when it starts.
Somebody's gonna get into a fight.
There's a brawl happening here, and although I'd pay money to watch Dylan Brooks and Draymond Green go at it, I think that would be a good fight. They're good. They're good sized guys. I'd like that.
I think I'd rather see like two centers. Like, I mean, I know Draymond's the center, but like, I'd rather see like a full size center, and that sounds weird. I'd rather see like 2 7-footers throwing haymakers.
I don't know.
From like 8 feet apart.
Well, only because I'll be able to see it better because they're above everyone else.
Right.
But I mean,
right.
I don't
know. A little clearer.
I don't know. I don't know who I'd rather. There's our question for next week. Which 2 guys in the NBA would you like to see scrap it out? If they allowed NHL rules, allowed them to fight for 5 minutes or 4 minutes or however long they allow them for, which 2 guys would you like to see drop gloves and go at it?
Steven Adams and Joel Embiid. There's the fight of the century.
All right. I like
a couple
of
heavyweights.
I will give you my answer next week. I got to think about this because there's a lot of guys I'd like to see fight, but I'm not sure who's the number one. So Anyway, I would like to see a couple of superstars go at it. Anyway, all right. So so um, tonight I was there just a minute ago. I was literally looking at the schedule, and now I'm not. So tonight, Miami, Philadelphia. No, that's not tonight. There are no games scheduled tonight
Yeah, tonight's a weirdly
because
absent night.
it's Cinco de Mayo. Is that the thing? I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know. So, yep. So tonight is taco night, Taco Thursday apparently, and then Friday night, Miami at Philadelphia, right? Game 3, and Phoenix at Dallas, and those two teams have a chance to just put a stranglehold on those series. And then Saturday you'll see Boston, Milwaukee in Game 3, and Memphis, Golden State in Game 3. And that's the if you I'm not advocating that you don't watch tomorrow night, but on Saturday you want to watch those two games for sure.
Yeah, those are good ones.
That's gonna be a good series. Two good series, I think, eventually. So that brings us to the trivia question. Are you ready?
Yes.
The Best Lamb Sports Show trivia question brought to you by Stave and Stone Wine Estates in Hood River. So you got to follow me with this because the explanation's a little tricky.
Okay.
Since the 16-team playoff format was established in the NBA in 1984, okay, that's when we went to 16 teams. And I know there's more than that now because of the play-in, but let's just eliminate the play-in. Since the 16-team format has started, how many times have the number 1 and number 2 seeds from both conferences reached the conference finals, and every series was won according to seed? So the first round this year, all 4 top seeds in both conferences advanced. That's who we have playing now.
Yeah.
There were no upsets. How many times has that happened all the way to the conference finals in the 39 seasons since they've gone to 16 teams?
Jeez, I have no clue.
Okay, there you go. And so now here's the second separate question. Regardless of seeding, right? How many times have the number 1 seeds from both conferences played in the finals since 1984?
Huh.
So I'm just trying to figure out how the seeding. It was a question of how seeding works and how many times do upsets happen, and how many times do they actually get the seeding right. So that was my question, and I started looking at a whole bunch of things. So anyway, but that's it. So how many times have the number 1 and 2 seeds reached the conference finals in both conferences, with everything going according to seed? And then the second one is how many times have the number 1 seeds from both conferences played in the finals, regardless of how they got there? So there you go. 2 questions. There you go. Think about that for the next half hour or so. I know you're excited.
Yeah, I don't think I know the answer.
Those are tricky. So and I don't think I have all the. I don't even have it. I will have to give the answer without pictures. That's fine. Let's talk about hockey for a minute, shall we?
Okay.
Playoffs. So we're in the playoffs for the NHL, and they are divisional. And I kind of like this from the NHL in that your top 4 teams in each division play each other to have a division winner. And I like that.
Okay.
I like the way that sits because now I have a true indication of who the division winner is. And your division winners will then play for the Stanley Cup, basically. So I like the way this goes. So right now you have there's 8 series out there right now, right? 16 teams.
Right.
In the East, Carolina leads Boston 2-0. Carolina won 5-1 Monday and 5-2 on Wednesday. The Toronto Maple Leafs are tied with the Tampa Bay Lightning 1-1. Toronto shut out Tampa 5-0 on Monday, and Tampa won 5-3 last night. Pittsburgh has the lead over the New York Rangers by virtue of their 4-3 3-overtime game on Tuesday, and we're barely into the play. We're 2 days into the playoffs, and they already had a 3-overtime game. And I'm going to tell you this: I love overtime hockey. The sudden deathness of overtime hockey, and its next goal wins, and they just keep playing until somebody wins. I like the way that is. I feel like that's how, everything should be. But there's an even chance for teams to get the face-off and get the puck first.
Yeah.
Right? The NFL doesn't have a way to do that. The NBA does, tip-off. But, they don't play sudden death. They play a certain amount of time. And I'm okay with the NBA plays their overtime.
Last year, we were watching NHL playoffs together, me and some friends, and we got caught up watching the Columbus-Tampa Bay game that went to 5 overtimes.
Mm-hmm.
Last year. And so then yesterday, when we were getting ready to watch the Avalanche game, it was getting put onto another channel because the Rangers game was going into overtime. And then next thing you know, we're checking it, it's in 2 overtime, then going into 3 overtime. Like, man, are we going to see another 5 overtime playoff game in a couple years? Like, that's pretty incredible.
So the problem
Didn't happen.
the problem is it's exciting and not exciting at the same time. At any moment, a goal can be scored, but you got to sit and watch 20 minutes of hockey, right? Every overtime period, you got to sit and watch it. Otherwise, you're going to miss it. And I never did see the goal, but I watched a lot of that overtime that nothing happened. Well, a lot of things happened, but there wasn't as exciting. You know, it's tense, and if you're invested in hockey, it's a great. I like that sudden death feel. But if you're just sitting there watching it because you're trying to flip back and forth between basketball and hockey and all the other things, you miss a lot of things. So
we had a bet going whether or not the Avs game would end before the before the Pens Rangers game, because the Avs game ended, or the Pens Rangers game ended, I think, with 5 minutes left in the Avs game, so just barely earlier.
Because they played almost a whole nother game.
They played almost a whole nother game. It's so awesome. 3
overtimes in it, and that's 50-something minutes they ended up playing out of a 60-minute game. So, yeah. Washington leads Florida 1-0 in the other Eastern Conference. The Capitals won 4-2 on Tuesday night to steal one from Florida's the top-ranked team in that division. But, never count out the Capitals and Ovechkin. So, in the West, St. Louis is tied with Minnesota 1-1. St. Louis won 4-0 Monday. Minnesota won 6-2 last night. The Los Angeles Kings and Edmonton Oilers are tied at 1. LA won 4-3 Monday. Edmonton shut them out 6-0 last night. Edmonton's the number one seed in that in that division. And then you had the Colorado game that you mentioned where they played Nashville. Colorado scores 5 goals in the first period to win 7-2. 5 goals in the first period is just, and it wasn't even just it was like the first one was in 3 minutes in. And so in like 17 minutes, they scored 5 goals.
And then 28 seconds after that,
the
second
one. It was 2-0 before you even had time to sit down.
Their goalie was pulled midway through the first.
Yeah, and deservedly so. And you see the tantrum if you go watch. He throws a little tantrum in the hallway as he goes past the bench and just throws his stick. And I mean, he's beating on the wall, and I don't blame him. I mean, I'd be angry too. It's a playoff game.
Second guy came in and gave up two more goals, so it's not doing much better.
I mean, well, technically, it's 2-2, right? It's 2-2. His goals and you know what I mean, the ones he gave up, and the Colorado was just hot. They were just on. There was nothing you were going to do, and I think Colorado's a really good hockey team. So
yeah.
The other series out west, Calgary leads Dallas 1-0. Calgary won 1-0 in it was kind of a snoozer on Tuesday night, by the way. But the Calgary Flames lead that 1-0. So you have hockey tonight. Pittsburgh at New York, game 2. We'll see if they go 3 OTs tonight. That's on TNT. Washington at Florida is on TBS. Nashville at Colorado is on TNT, the second game of that doubleheader. And then Dallas at Calgary is on TBS, the second game of that doubleheader. So I think that's probably why there's no basketball tonight, is that they're sharing a little bit of TBS TNT time with the NHL.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
it's all right. It'll all work out.
All right, that's all right. Yeah, if you want to watch playoff hockey, is the best hockey. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't watch it during the regular season that much, just because I don't know. There's too many games, and I have other things to watch, and I'm watching, I'm watching football, right, for a lot of hockey season, and then I'm watching NBA basketball. It becomes that third sport when there's nothing else on, or the game is in triple overtime, and then you want to watch it. But yeah, and then I got to tell you though, hockey, as far as rules go, I like hockey and their rules and the way they do things better than any of the other sports. There are still going to be judgment calls and issues like that, but you see less of it in hockey than you do in any other sport. You see less bias, I guess, let's say. The penalty box is fantastic. Everybody should have a penalty box. Every league. Sorry. There's no don't shoot free throws. Just take a guy out for a minute. I like that idea better. NBA could be well served by having a penalty box. Just saying, 5-on-4 for a minute instead of a free throw. Right. You might be able to score 2 baskets in that time.
All right. What about this? You can go. Well, see, the problem with that is that problem that I have with a penalty box in the NBA is that you don't have anybody protecting the rim like you do in hockey. You have somebody in goal.
Right.
You have 4 players on the ice, 5 players total on the ice. So when somebody commits a penalty in basketball, you can put on a 7-footer to guard the rim.
Sure. No,
and he could just stand in the paint for a few minutes, and then what's off.
Your penalty killing line, yeah. There should be a special rule. Yeah, absolutely, because in the NHL they allow you to ice the puck when you're shorthanded, You know what I mean?
Right.
They give you an out basically because you're playing a man down, and your goalie never comes out. There's always going to be a goalie. You're right. I
But
think
also you can't throw the puck. We can throw the puck out of the ring, but but you can throw the bat if you huck the basketball down court just to
yeah.
keep it away. You're gonna throw it out of
Yeah, that's the problem. There's no
bounds.
boards down there.
There's no board. So I
Yeah.
say I say somebody goes into the box, then you're allowed to bring on a guy who's not allowed to leave the paint, and just he's has to be 7 feet at least, and he can just stand there and guard the basket.
Yeah, and he has
And then
no
as soon as the guy comes out, he goes straight off the backside of the court, like towards the hoop, and goes back around to sit down.
I think you change the rules so that you say, okay, well, this if you're going to be shorthanded, then you can play a zone with no, there's no 3-second defensive 3-second call. You're going to play the zone. You can
Right.
play it. You can just pack the middle if you want to. That doesn't help you because the other team can shoot a three, but it. You can do other things. I don't know. There's got to be another way to do it, but yeah, you'd have a different lineup that would
I
come
think in
in.
basketball, you just end up with somebody who runs to the bench and for the penalty, and then like within a few seconds of starting play, they score a basket and they're coming right back out.
Yeah, and I think why not? Why don't we have free substitutions in basketball like they do in hockey? How come we can't do it on the fly?
Oh, I'm not sure about.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it's a very very small place,
Sure.
so a lot of interchange with big clunky people. It's
Yeah.
not the greatest.
It's true, but you can't. You could after like you go down. Let's say you get a breakaway and you run down to the other end and you score. Right.
Yeah.
At that point, one of your guys could run off the court and one of your other guys could run on the court, and that'd be fine because the ball's at the other end and you're not gonna lose anything. But it's harder to do in the middle of the court. But at one end, you could absolutely send somebody off, or go into a set play and send somebody off real quick and have another guy come on. I like the idea of having free, because what's the point of you can only come on at a dead ball? Well, that's great and all, but what if there's no dead ball for the next 3 minutes?
Well, then maybe the way that has to go is if you put the benches on the baseline, and you're only allowed to have somebody come out or somebody go in while the ball's across half court.
Maybe. Yeah, there could be,
Because,
but they could
because
find a
there
way.
has to be a clear defined person coming off and a person going on if you want to do it like a line change style.
Right.
And the court's not big enough to do it on the side because I just feel like you're going to get into a weird. At some point, you're going to get caught in a very, very weird situation. You have to pull them farther apart, and so put the benches on baselines, and then you can swap in and out. But then you have players running at the basket with
Right.
other players in front of them. You're liable for injury.
It's true, maybe. I mean,
But that's why we put fans there.
yeah. I mean, they're already putting fans in weird spots. And that's the other thing that drives me nuts about. And this is not NHL related, but that's the other thing that drives me nuts about the NBA when I watch them now is that on either side of the scorer's table, there's 7 or 8 spectators.
Yeah.
I almost call them civilians. I guess they are. 7 to 8 spectators on either end before you get to the players. I don't like that. I mean, I know why they do it because you can charge a premium for those seats. I get it. But I don't like the fact that my players have to walk in front of fans. And they're not our fans. When we're on the road, there's somebody else's fans. And that's not okay.
But it's not their fans when you're at home.
Right.
So
but
that goes both ways.
Yeah, but it shouldn't be allowed. Period. You shouldn't. Your players should not have to cross in front of fans to get to the scorer's bench to come into the game. I would, as a league, I would say, why are we allowing that? Because you're asking for shit to happen.
Yeah.
So I mean, not that it has a lot, but you're just asking. You're begging for that one guy who drinks too much and has drinks delivered to his seat, because that's what we do now. We walk on the court during the game and deliver drinks. Which is just amazing to me. That's another thing. Don't get me started. But anyway, I would eliminate that. Those guys can sit at the end of the bench. That's fine. The other end, or make the end line seats more palatable. Make a recliner there or something. I don't know. Anyway,
I'm hit or miss on those people because I don't like people walking on the court.
Right.
So there needs to be a way for you to exit the court backwards.
Right. Correct.
But other than that, you being there, like it costs a lot of money to operate a basketball team, and I know they make a lot of money, but whatever. if somebody's willing to pay $30,000 a seat for for those season tickets to sit courtside right there, whatever. Again, just I want them to not have to go down the line. I want them to be able to have to go backwards, and I want them to be served drinks wise and stuff from backwards, and it's all courtside seats except for the baseline where there is a big gap behind the cameramen anyways.
Right.
But yeah, I don't want the servers on the court and things like that. Every year you hear about some server. Well, Portland had that one lady, AJ Noser, who got hit with the ball like 4 times
Yeah.
over 2 years and kept spilling.
I mean,
LeBron ran into her twice and the
yeah.
ball hit her a couple times. Yeah.
I don't know.
And she's just a wrong place, wrong time. She definitely needs to look both ways before
I would.
crossing the court.
I probably wouldn't sit there again, but that's just me.
Well, no,
But
this is a person who works for the Blazers.
oh, because she's delivering stuff.
She's delivering
Yeah,
stuff. She kept
the
getting
the delivery is ridiculous. I don't understand the delivery. I know why you do it. Oh, it's a premium thing we do for these people in these.
You do it
seats.
so people aren't getting up and walking down the court line.
Correct. I understand, but
Yeah.
if they weren't there, you wouldn't have to worry about it.
Well, I mean duh, right?
Yeah.
If there were no fans in the stadium, you don't have to worry about any issues.
If there were no fans on the court, if they didn't have to go around the bench to get to their seat, then you wouldn't have to worry about it. I mean, that's bottom line is somebody has to go over there because you don't want the fans getting up. So now you got to put an employee at risk and on the floor, literally during the game. I think that's wrong. So just stop that. That's just me talking. What do I know? That's what I would. That's what I would do. That's how I would fix. I would just get rid of that because it bothers me to see those people sitting there when it's not necessary. It's just a little bit more money. How much more money are you making from that seat as opposed to being at the other end of the bench if you move the bench down?
Probably a lot less.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about a lot.
I mean, relatively, it's a lot to me. I'm sure the 10 grand difference is a lot.
It might be. I don't know. Anyway, but that's the thing, and it's done everywhere now.
But I know that you're not allowed to put people between the players in the locker room. So there has to be a clear path from the bench to the locker room.
Why?
That's an NBA rule. I don't know.
Yeah. So yeah, but it seems weird that
So they tend to put them on the other side of them,
right?
Or they don't put them on. There's a couple stadiums that don't have people there at all.
Well, then just put the teams on the end lines,
and they're just on the far side. Yeah, on the baseline.
Yeah.
But then you're in a run out space for.
Yeah, but if
traffic.
But if anybody can get out of the way, I feel like an NBA player is going to be able to get out of the way better than a fan. Yeah, what do I know?
The precautions we take to protect NBA players, you think they're going to have that attitude on it?
I guess.
Like, oh yeah, they're athletic enough, they'll figure it out.
Yeah, put up a wall, put up boards like hockey, and we got it made. Anyway,
I do agree with that. And then just let people bounce the ball off the boards.
Oh, I like the idea. Now we're talking about indoor football, and I like it.
Arena basketball.
Yeah, arena. Yeah, what do you call it? I don't even know how you called it.
There was an arena basketball with like trampolines and stuff back in the day. You could bounce the ball off of stuff.
I don't know about that one, but all right. So anyway, let's move on. Second. Sorry, I got you sidetracked. Second half of the show, I did too. I was way out on basketball. NBA is not my favorite sport right now. I like watching the games and I like watching them when they're good. I'm not a big fan of the things that happen. I'm not a fan of the way it's officiated. I'm not a fan of the way the stadium sits. I'm not a fan. I mean, there's just all kinds of things that I'm just not a fan of. But anyway, we'll talk about that later. So,
were you not a fan of where people sat in the 70s?
They never sat where they are now.
In the 80s. Well, Jerry Buss designed the courtside seat.
Right, because for Jack Nicholson and Diane Cannon and the superstars that came out, and he wanted everyone to see that there were superstars at his game. They need to be on camera, which is really bogus. The camera's gonna find them anyway. But that's beside the point. Make a celebrity section on the other side, straight opposite the bench.
Yeah, but you don't want to make a whole section where people can target the celebrities. That's not what you want. You want them scattered about. You want to feel like they're all over the place, not just all in one place.
Well, so now the question is, if you're a celebrity and you've got unlimited resources, would you buy a ticket on the court or up in a box?
Unlimited resources, both.
Yeah. Move back and forth.
Absolutely.
During the game,
I'd spend the first half of the game up in the box, maybe the first 3/4 up in the box,
and we get close,
eating food, stuff like that. And if it's a tight game, yeah, I'd go park my butt down on courtside and see the final from right there.
That's a good idea.
Resources.
I'm okay with that. I think.
But if it's not a tight game, I'm staying in the box the whole time. If it's Heat 76ers, I'm in the box.
Okay. It's just a thought. I'm like, if I'm a celebrity, it depends on how much I want to be seen, right?
Yeah, and people do it to like promote movies and things like that.
Right.
Every time Will Ferrell has done like his Staples Center dresses like a security guard thing, which he's done like 4 or 5 times.
Yeah.
It's always in promotion of a movie.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's a I think it's kind of cool. I think it would be. I think if I was trying to have attention, although I don't think I'd do it at. I don't think I'd do it that often. I would be
Yep.
more inclined to do it at a football game because you can just stay in the box and you'll still get on camera than I
That's
would be at a
true.
basketball game. At a basketball game, I kind of want to be. I think as a general rule, if I had to pick one or the other, I'd pick a box.
Right.
So
Yeah. I don't know. All right. There you go. All right.
yeah.
Good stuff. Second half of the show brought to you by Boss Kitty Hand-Dyed Yarns. Be sure to go on to the BossKittyShop.com website and get your kitty glitter yarn, soft, sparkly, and out of this world. If you're looking for a gift, get them a Boss Kitty Shop virtual gift card and let them pick it out themselves. That's Boss Kitty Hand-Dyed Yarns. Yarn so boss, you'll knit your pants. So, second half of the show, we're going to talk about a few things because we have a few things to talk about. Oh, good. Looks like I'm out of focus. Looks like my camera doesn't know what to do with me. That's awesome. Yeah, that's kind of how I see everything this morning. Fuzzy. Portland Timbers lost to the Colorado Rapids 2-0 on Saturday, despite playing with a man advantage for the last 27 minutes. The Rapids' Diego Rubio scored on a free kick after a Portland penalty and later got himself 2 yellow cards and was shown the red at the 63rd minute of the second half. And the Timbers couldn't take advantage. They were bad, and they've been bad. They haven't scored in 3 games. Two 0-0 ties and a 2-0 loss. But Mark Anthony Kay for the Rapids scored in second half stoppage time late while Portland was trying to press, so to make it 2-0. Timbers have scored exactly 10 goals in 10 games, but 5 of those goals came in 2 games. So the other 8 games, they've scored 5 goals. That's not you're not going to win much that way. And the sad part is they're only a game under 500, I guess technically. They're 2-3-5 because they have 5 ties. But it's just boring. How long as a fan do you watch a team not score? I mean,
Right.
Portland fans are pretty dedicated and they're going to come anyway. But at some point in time, your casual fan is going to say, "I'm not going to any more games because nothing happens." You know, we're not if a 0-0 tie is one of the most. And I watched Seattle play New England a few years ago in Seattle and watched the 0-0 tie. And it was one of the most boring soccer games I've ever seen. There was like 2 chances to score in the entire game. And it was awful to watch. It was awful to sit through as a fan. You're like, I paid money to come sit you and watch you guys do basically nothing. Practice for 90 minutes. So, but you never know. You never know what you're going to get. That's the problem. Maybe you're going to get 6 goals, but if you get the 0-0, then you're just disappointed because nothing happened. Anyway, but the next Portland takes on the New York Red Bulls Saturday in New York, 4 p.m. It's on ESPN Plus. So if you have ESPN Plus, you can watch a lot of 0-0 soccer. I don't know. What's your take? If the NBA played a game and it was scoreless, how long would you watch it?
Yeah. Not. But also I'm predisposed to having, 70 field goals per team.
Right. But
so it's
a
little different.
How about NFL games that are 0-0 into the second half? How boring is that? You want to see someone score. That's the reason you're there.
Yeah. The difference is that when an NFL game is 0-0, there's probably been sacks, there's probably been picks, there's probably been fumbles. No one's completing offense, but there's definitely defense happening. Although there have been a few instances of it just being truly boring, a whole bunch of 3-and-outs and punts. But usually that's not the case. In soccer, when a game is 0-0 at the half, there's just been a ton of passing.
Yeah.
Just back and forth and back and forth. And this didn't open up, go backwards. This didn't open up, go backwards. Or it did open up, but it went out of bounds, and now the other team's got it. Now they're going backwards. Now they're going forwards. And now they're going backwards.
There's a lot of backwards, yeah.
It's different because it's just back and forth and back and forth. And I don't care how diehard soccer fan you are, it still has a boring period to it.
Sure.
When there's not attacking, which, once it starts to happen, you get a little engaged, you sit up in your seat a little bit, but the problem is they're not getting that much attack going.
Right.
So it's just, I don't know, it's just boring. It's boring to watch. It's not fun to watch. And yeah, I know I'm predisposed to a ton of action in all sports. Even the sports like football, where it could be 0-0 at the half, is still usually action packed. So yeah, I don't need it. I don't need it in my life.
Yeah. Hey, one other soccer note: the Seattle Sounders made history by becoming the first MLS team to win CONCACAF Champions League final, and which they play against Mexico for the most part. Anyway, yeah, but so that's the first time an MLS team has won in 20 years has won a CONCACAF Champions League title. So, congratulations, Seattle Sounders, who are, by the way, at the bottom of the table in MLS this year. So I don't know where it's coming from. I don't know how they're doing it, but they're clearly not doing it in the regular MLS games.
Right.
They're doing it in the other games. So, but yeah. Anyway, so there's that. Just a little note for soccer fans, because I know soccer fans are excited. Let's. And and I forgot to. Here's the
Soccer
problem.
fans are excited for anything right now.
Well, yeah, if there's any goals, they get excited because it's 0-0s. Anyway, let's talk about the Miami Grand Prix. Formula One's going to be in Miami. Max Verstappen and Charles Leclerc will take the Formula One show into Miami for the Miami Grand Prix this weekend. The track is 3.363 mile circuit, by the way, in case everybody wanted to know. And I'm sure no one did. It has 19 corners, and there's going to be 57 laps around Miami's Hard Rock Stadium. It doesn't actually go around the stadium, but it kind of does.
It kind of like circles part of it.
It's like a horseshoe.
Yeah, like horseshoes around it. Yeah.
The elaborate grandstands and exclusive club areas include a fake harbor for some yachts. Looking. And I, when I first saw it, I was like, they put water in there for that? And then I learned that it was not real water, and I was like, what are they doing? What is that for? It's interesting. And if you look at some of the club areas in the middle of the track that have swimming pools and lounges and lounge chairs and things, I'm like, you want people to be in there not watching the race? Is that the whole point of that? I don't understand. Is it a different level of luxury? I'm so rich that I can go to the race, but I don't need to watch it.
Exactly.
Okay.
You're finally getting it.
All right. I feel like, it's interesting. That's where the big money comes from. Somebody's going to pay a lot of money to go swimming during an F1 race and say, I was there. I don't have any idea what happened, but I was there. Okay. So, so have you looked at the circuit diagram for the actual race, the actual track?
Yeah, I've looked a couple times. It looks really cool.
It does look really cool. And it's going to be, turns 1 and 2 are going to be the decider, kind of like they are at every race almost, it seems like. There's a long straight from the get-go, from the starting line. And then there's a hard right. And it's more than, or I guess I should say less than 90 degrees, the corner. And it is sharp. And then it goes into a turn 2, so it goes right and then back to the left.
Right.
That corner is going to do what every corner, like at Monza or like wherever. There's always a one hard first corner, and everyone's trying to be 2 wide or 3 wide going through the first corner, and it decides the race for the most part. Usually, those corners do. So this doesn't look like it's going to be indifferent. Although the rest of the track looks like it's made for overtaking.
Oh yeah, made for speed.
Yeah, made for passing. So there's going to be a lot of lanes or position switching, I think. And we say that, but it's entirely possible that one person could lead the whole damn race, and that happens regularly.
Exactly. Yeah. Could be boring.
It could be. And it's flat. There's no elevation change. There's zero, because Miami has no hills. It is literally a flat track, which is interesting also.
Yeah.
No banks and no elevation changing. So, at forecast for Sunday in Miami calls for a 30% chance of rain in the afternoon. So that could make it more exciting. A little bit wet, a little bit damp in Miami.
Ooh,
that afternoon shower that comes along in the middle of the race makes everything more exciting. So, race starts at, I think, 3:30 Eastern. Is that right? It's 12:30 Pacific.
12:30 Pacific, 3:30
yeah,
Eastern.
So 3:30 Eastern. That's about the time they're forecasting it to be a little showery. So, yeah, you may have dry conditions for practice and qualifying, and then the race starts and you get damp, you get wet a little bit, and that will make it more exciting. So, anyway, strategy is always fun when it's raining. So Formula One, I'm looking forward to seeing Miami just to see what happens, to see if that's a viable racetrack, or if they're going to have to, they play one and then go, this doesn't work.
Well, they've got it under contract for a few years.
But they'll have to. But what I'm saying is F1 would step in and say, hey, you need to fix this. You need to do something different with it. You know?
Maybe.
Yeah. So if the racetrack itself doesn't work out, I'm sure the harbors are going to be fine. But the fake marina is fine. It's an interesting thing to me. Why can't, it's Miami. There's water everywhere. Why can't you put some water in there and actually have boats on water? Why is that not a thing?
Does it actually go like near the water?
The track?
Yeah.
Uh, kinda.
Like I don't think
No,
it
it's not
does.
oceanside. Is that's what you're asking?
Or any sort of beachside,
No,
riverside, anything like that. Is there water actually near it? Because I didn't think there
no,
was.
no, not on the track itself. It just goes. It just goes sort of close. There, the setup is sort of close to the water. The stadium is not far. It's just though they're not actually beachside or riverside, bayside or whatever it is. I can't remember. They got a intercoastal waterway that goes through there too.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking that it was near, but I guess
Yeah,
not.
no, but you could still go get water and put it in a big old swimming pool and put your boats in it. I mean, that's not the biggest engineering marvel in the world. You could do that pretty easily.
Right.
But nah, let's not do that. Let's just make fake water and put boats in the middle. That seems weird. But again, also the swimming pools seem weird, and this seems like an elaborate setup to make a crap ton of money.
Heck yeah.
And hopefully the race will live up to that. I just hope it's a good race. That's all I care about. I don't care about your other things that are going on in Miami. But anyway, and then Las Vegas is coming next year.
Yeah, well, so that's the one I'm excited about.
That's going to be interesting. Racing down the strip as part of the race is going to be pretty cool. I mean, I think
Pretty flippin' exciting.
if they do it right, it'll be pretty amazing. So anyway, looking
Yeah.
forward to that too. Anyway, so let's move on because we did this.
Wait, before we do,
Yeah.
I was reading this thing earlier. It says it was teams with most completed laps. Most completed laps all series. Mercedes leads the field with most completed laps, and it's not even close. They're like 120 laps or
This
something
year?
like that, more than everyone else. And the next team is like Haas. Yeah, this year.
Yeah,
You have to go. Like I think it's midway through the pack is where you get to Red Bull and Ferrari
because one of their
they
drivers
keep
has been out.
disqualifying cars.
Yeah, one of their drivers has been out of every race just about.
But it's but that was like the title of the post was when it comes to finishing the race, there's only one champion. And it was just like, well, that's kind of sad.
Yeah, it's true. They've had a lot of troubles. Both teams have had troubles getting both cars across the line.
This
So-
is an odd race, so now we're gonna find out if Red
And-
Bull loses a car again.
And Mercedes has been good at it, and that's why they were fairly high in the constructor series because they were getting people to finish. And Haas has been much better at it, much better than they. The fact that they saved all their money for the last 2 years and spent it all on this car is showing, actually,
Yeah.
that they
Kevin
can be.
Magnussen looks good.
Oh yeah, he does. So, but anyway, I like
Yeah.
I like it. Formula One is fun to watch. If you haven't watched it, watch on Sunday during regular middle of the day, 12:30, right? And I promise it'll be done by about 3 at the latest, right? I think it has a 2-hour time limit anyway, unless there's a rain stoppage or something. But 2 hours of
I'm
racing
excited
time.
for a normal race time.
Right? Yeah, it's gonna be great.
I'm gonna grill some burgers. I'm gonna sit down and watch the race.
Don't have to get up early. You don't have to stay up late.
That's right.
So there you
That's
go.
right.
All right, let's move to the next thing.
Uh-huh.
NFL draft. Only one Oregon Duck got drafted. That's Kayvon Thibodeau. He went number 5 to the New York Giants. And I just watched a podcast. Not a podcast. I watched a ESPN show earlier. They're talking about the defensive ends that all got taken in the draft because there's a lot of them. Trayvon Walker's number 1, but they were talking about who's going to be the most impactful, and they listed Thibodeau as number 2, just because of his being paired with another defensive end. I can't remember the guy's name they got last year. Aguilari. Anyway, they had another defensive end that they drafted last year. So they've got one on either end, and so you can't just double team him as opposed to Trayvon Walker, who's going to get double teamed like a son of a gun because their defense has nobody else. So in Jacksonville,
Right.
so that's what they're saying. He's going to be more impactful, and he's faster, and he is. We've watched him. Plus, he's more flexible. He can play pass coverage to a certain extent, and I think that's what the defense that they're trying to build in New York is all about: being flexible, having players that can play, multiple things, can do more than just, one item. So
Yeah.
but anyway, he's the only one that got drafted. I think he's going to be good. I mean, if he stays healthy, if he can keep from being injured, he'll definitely make an impact. Safety Verone McKinley signed as a free agent with the Dolphins. C.J. Verdell signed as a free agent with the Colts. Anthony Brown and Devin Williams both signed with the Ravens. And Johnny Johnson signed with the Houston Texans. So my question to you is, of those 5 guys, Johnson, Williams, Brown, Verdell, and McKinley, which one of those guys is going to be on an NFL team when we watch regular season football?
Uh, it's a. I don't think Verdell's gonna last. I think he's got injury issues. I'd love to be surprised by that, but I don't think it's gonna happen. I don't think you're gonna see Brown anytime soon if he insists on playing quarterback.
Right.
So I don't know if he's planning on switching to another position. Maybe he is planning on switching to a tight end or something like that because he's about the right size for that. A little small. So if he's switching, maybe you could see him. So I think it really falls down to Williams and Johnny Johnson. I think those are your two best shots to see him playing because the Texans can use some receiver help.
Yeah.
So JJ3 makes sense. Um, and I guess they just lost
JJ3.
Hollywood. JJ3 is such a cool name.
Yeah.
I guess they just lost Hollywood Brown with the Ravens.
Yeah.
So there is a slight. They're going to need people to step up because outside of him, they had a really good tight end, and then the rest of the receivers were okay.
Right.
And Devin Williams he's a big dude. So I think that having that very very large frame is going to be nothing but a benefit for him. So 6'4", 200-pound receiver.
Sure.
But I think Devin Williams is going to have the longest NFL future. But I said the same thing about Juwan Johnson, and I have not seen a ton of him either. But I have seen him.
You have, yeah, but you have heard of me.
That's right.
Yeah. So, I wonder, Verone McKinley being picked up by the Dolphins is not a product of Javon Holland telling the Dolphins, "Hey, you might want to, take a look at this guy." Just saying, because
possibly, yeah.
Because Javon Holland has worked out well for the Dolphins, although he was second round pick, third round pick, something like that, second round pick. But still, I think that he probably had some influence at some point in time. Said, "Hey, I played with him, and he's going to be great." So, you always wonder if that happens on a team. If there's a player from that school who played with that guy and says, "Hey, you should draft this guy, or you should pick up this guy."
Yeah.
And I don't know how much influence they have in the decision making process, but you'd have to, if they're a trusted, valued member of your team, you would think you would listen to them. So,
Javon Holland was a surprise. He's done way better than I expected him to do. I know that he was top 10 in terms of coverage last year.
Yeah.
In terms of safety, it's like I was very surprised by that.
Yeah. I was not as surprised. I told you he'd go in the first round, but he didn't.
Yeah, even in the second. Yeah.
Still, I think he's much better. He was a great second round pickup for Miami. So anyway, but hopefully it'll continue. But I don't know about Verone McKinley. He's not Javon Holland, but he is. He
is not Javon Holland.
He is not, but he is pretty good, or was. I mean, in college, it's hard to say how well it translates to what they need, defensively. Anyway,
well, they've got Xavier Howard.
Yeah.
Is that his name?
Yeah.
So they've got Xavier Howard who plays cornerback, and so they're not going to need him to come in just absolutely blow everyone away. He's going to get the second or third guy.
Yeah, he's going to be
assuming
nickel
he
back.
starts. Yeah.
He's going to be that extra cornerback that comes in. He's going to be that kind of guy. Assuming that he makes the team, yeah. First of all.
Right. He always could not.
Right. So, all right, let's move to our USFL update because that's what we do, by the way. Yeah, because we're committed to the USFL update. The Birmingham Stallions remained unbeaten, and they lead the USFL South Division at 3-0 after a 22-13 win over the New Orleans Breakers on Saturday. The New Jersey Generals beat the Philadelphia Stars 24-16 on Sunday to take the lead in the North Division with a record of 2-1. There are 4 Oregon Ducks, by the way, playing in the USFL.
Woo!
Birmingham has safety Tyree Robinson, running back Tony Brooks-James, and offensive guard Cameron Hunt. And then New Jersey has defensive end Bryson Young. So you got 4 Ducks.
4 Ducks.
Three of them on one team, but you got 4 Ducks in the USFL. I see A.J. Brown being a USFL quarterback. Or not A.J. I call him A.J. Brown. Anthony Brown being a USFL quarterback. That's kind of
he's going to eventually move somewhere else.
Right.
I'm very, very much with you in that regard.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about one more thing.
Okay.
And by the way, these Philadelphia Stars uniforms with the yellow and the red, I like that. It's eye-catching. I mean, I don't know if it's great, but it's the yellow helmet and the yellow pants with the red. They kind of look like Iowa State, like a version of Iowa State's uniforms. But I feel like it's better than, it's better than a lot of them that I see. It's different. You know what I mean?
It's not bad. Like
it's
the
not.
caution tape that's down their helmets.
Yeah, the caution tape looks a little weird, but I mean that's not that stripe is a little strange, but
it looks good. It's a good looking jersey.
it pops at you. You can see it. I like that.
That does remind me, the NFL this year has approved alternate helmets.
See, there you go.
So this year we're going to be able to see
The other
helmets
color?
that are unique colors, which means that everyone's excited for the creamsicle Tampa Bay uniforms,
Right.
and the Broncos can use their old blue
Right.
again.
The
there's a lot of cool stuff.
And the Dolphins can have orange ones.
Oh, that'd be so cool! An orange lid for the Dolphins
Yes.
with a white jersey and white pants.
Yeah, except they won't do that. You watch; it'll be part of color rush type of thing where it's all orange or
monotone all orange. Yeah,
and that won't
actually,
be
that might not be terrible.
Wait, the Miami Dolphin uniforms are one of the best ones you can play with in terms of the color scheme, in just that even if it's all at orange, you got that aqua and white that
Right.
pops off the uniform because of the background, and even if you have aqua, the orange you can have orange that pops, and then the two colors are better together because each one kind of highlights the other one. I guess that's the best way I could say it. But I like the Dolphins. I'm a Dolphins fan anyway, but I mean I like the Dolphins uniforms just for that reason. But they haven't worn the orange. You know what I mean? Like they that was an alternate jersey for a while, and I like the orange
Since
jerseys.
Tannehill was there, I think it was the last time they wore it.
I like the orange jerseys. I'm a big fan of that. There's not tradition. Okay, great, but in today's game, you've got to have something different. You got to just, for fan purposes, to draw somebody else in, because you're not catering to me who's already a fan. You're trying to get somebody who isn't a fan. Hey, look at those. Those are neat. Anyway, uniforms are one of those things. One of the ways to do that. But anyway, there's your USFL update. Pretty exciting, huh?
Heck yeah.
I know, right? Let's talk about the college football for just a minute.
Okay.
Ohio State Athletic Director Gene Smith proposes that FBS leagues operate under the college football playoff with their own rules. Speaking with ESPN at the Big Ten spring meetings in Scottsdale, Arizona. And by the way, why are we letting the Big Ten have their meetings in Scottsdale, Arizona? Kick them out. That's Pac-12 territory. Get them out. Go have your crap in Madison, Wisconsin. Yeah, go somewhere else. I'm just saying.
We'll take their money.
No, don't let them have fun in the sun. You guys picked a conference where it's all crappy weather all the time. Go back to your crappy weather.
Just tornadoes and just jerks out there.
Just you guys want to have it down in the southern location? Yeah, go to Nebraska. Anyway, so I'm just saying. So yeah, everybody wants to come out to the coast. We'll have a good time. Anyway, he was just Smith said he was just throwing out ideas, quote unquote.
Yeah.
And that schools who offer 85 scholarships, quote, need different rules. Smith went on to say that, quote, we can create our own rules, create our own governance structure, have our own enforcement, have our own requirements, whatever that might be, unquote.
Yeah.
So I would say that this is one of those things where I said a while back that once we started changing things, name, image, and likeness, and we started that we were going to eventually have the super haves and the super have nots, and that's where we're headed. And that's the first step at it. I know it's not a thing yet, and he's just throwing out ideas, quote unquote, but how many other people are throwing out that same idea, saying that, oh yeah, we should definitely have a 20-team super league. Of these guys are different, and the rules are going to be different. The same rules don't apply to these teams that apply to these teams, and that's garbage, let's be honest. It needs to be more fair and equal, not less fair and unequal to me. But I can see it coming. I see that attitude coming from a while back, from a ways away, that this was going to be the next level of, oh, well, we have to shell out all this money or we're setting up name, image, and likeness deals to get players to come, and we're using the transfer portal to lure players to come to our place with the idea that, hey, we're going to be able to set you up with a deal. You know what I mean? So then they're professional football players, and just stop playing the game of it being amateur and start playing professional football. I'm okay with that if you commit to do that, but you're not doing that. You're still playing quote unquote amateur football, but you're paying the players to come play. And that's stop lying to me. Stop using the guise of it's college football. It is not. It's professional football in a minor league setting, because players are free to go wherever the hell they want now.
Right.
So there's no commitment. There's no contract, really.
Yeah.
You can go tomorrow. And now they're talking about putting a coach's transfer portal in.
Yeah.
What? Okay.
They
So
already
the
already
coaches
have that
so the
anyways.
coaches can just get up and leave anyway.
Yeah.
But now it becomes so it. I don't know. I just don't like that. I don't like any of that compared to where it used to be. I think it's just you're going to ruin football eventually. So you're right. You're going to see the same 6 teams playing games for a national championship forever because nobody else is going to be able to compete. So
Well,
you've ruined college football. You're going to. It's headed down that road.
the problem was that the NCAA had plenty of opportunities over the last 30 years to get in front of this issue. And they chose to say, it's not a problem. It's not a problem. Your student athletes, it's not a problem. Your student athletes, it's not a problem. Like they kept doing that over and over again for 30 years. And finally, the student athletes said, well, fine. We're going to start suing. We're going to start suing for for our portion of the money that you make off us and things like that and blah, blah, blah. But they had opportunities to get ahead of it. When you ignored the issue that, the majority of your athletes, not the 5 players on your team who came there and are getting, illegally handed, McDonald's bags full of cash, but the other 75 guys who aren't making any money, when all of those guys are struggling to get through their classes and their housing and things like that because they're on partial scholarships or they're on walk-on scholarships. When those guys are struggling, you ignored all of them because you didn't want to cater to the 5 dudes who could make millions over here. You just ignored it. They ignored it for so long. It was just bound to happen one day. People don't do it forever. People won't sit there and take crap forever. If they feel like they're being, unjustly treated, eventually it's going to backfire on you, and it did, and now it's shifting the whole entire thing. I do think that it's not a terrible idea that, well, especially with the NCAA with having Mark Emmert step down, and Mark, is his name Mark?
Yeah.
Emmert? Yeah. Wow. Why did I think it was Mike all of a sudden? Just
Eh.
Mark Emmert stepped down. I think that it's going to lead the way for conferences to rule themselves. But I don't see how that's much more different than the way it is now. The NCAA is only involved in punishment, not really involved in regulation. So I don't really see that being too drastically different of a process. Not anytime soon. But I mean, they just had opportunities. It's a very different world. Yes, there's a transfer portal, and a very small percentage of NCAA athletes take advantage of that in ways that you'll notice. Much larger percentage of it take advantage of it in ways that are positive for them. But it's one of those things where it's a different time. That doesn't mean it's worse. And you're right. We might see 5 teams, competing for titles every year, which is what the NCAA wanted when it had control. Was 5 teams competing for the title. They wanted Alabama and Ohio State and Notre Dame playing for titles every single year. So guess what we got every single year was that. It's not much different. If you think that it's going to end up with just a few top tier teams and the rest of them is kind of looking up, it's like, well, that's the way it is now.
Well, you would eliminate. I mean, let's be honest. You're going to eliminate the chance that a Cincinnati gets into a playoff. You're going to eliminate the chance that an Oregon gets into a playoff. Probably. You're going to talk about.
Doesn't it raise the chance though? Like the fact that you can go out and buy a recruit. If you're a Cincinnati booster, you say, I'm going to set this kid up with a $1 million NIL deal. He's not going to get that from here or there. Now I'm going to grab a recruit that I wouldn't normally get.
Nope. So I would tell you that what you're going to get is teams fighting over players, but you're going to have. Would you? Here's my example. You're a 4-star recruit coming out of high school, not a 5. You're a 4, and Alabama has expressed interest in you, and so has Cincinnati. Okay, Cincinnati's willing to offer you $1 million NIL deal. Alabama says, "Oh, the best I can do is $250,000 and a chance to play on a national championship team and get exposure."
Okay,
which one do you pick?
What do I need?
Well,
do I need $1 million?
If you're all about the money, then I would suggest you're not in it for the football anyway. So I don't want you on my football team. I want a player who wants to play for a national championship.
But that's not the point. Your appreciation or lack of desire to have somebody who isn't committed to the game for the sake of the game.
You don't want players committed to the game?
The fact that that's not what I said. Is no longer a factor in whether or not Cincinnati can grab a piece of talent that they wouldn't normally be able to grab. They can do that now.
Well,
it doesn't matter if it's for money. It doesn't matter if he's skirting his level of the game. He can do it though.
I'm telling you that those recruits aren't going to pick Cincinnati just for the money. Is what I think is going to happen. They're going to pick that balance of I'm going to get this amount of money and a chance to be playing in front of a lot more people, right? To get exposed on a national level so I can get into an NFL draft because Alabama players get drafted.
Some will, yeah.
You know,
Well, some will choose that. Is what I mean.
yeah. I'm thinking that that's the way that if you're committed to the football, that's where you're going to go. If you're not, then you're not going to be much help to my football team anyway.
Well,
if you're just about signing this money.
That's not. See, that's people. People can be about money. People can be about money, and still have love for the game. That those two things are allowed to exist. They're not mutually exclusive.
I'm not saying they aren't. What I'm saying is there are very few players who are like that. Very few, as in like 1 in a million. Is that guy who says I can balance this. I'm about this and committed to football. Right. You either are about the money or you're about the football, and the money will come.
Or you're about both, and you can go get plenty of national exposure. Spencer Rattler
from Cincinnati.
Spencer Rattler got plenty of exposure.
He did. How many other Cincinnati players can you name? Name one from last year's team other than Spencer Rattler.
I
can't. Even. No, you can't because they're not on national television enough. They aren't household names enough, and ESPN wasn't behind them.
But being fair, I couldn't name you 2 LSU players right now, and they were on national television a bunch.
Derek Stingley.
Okay. And then who's the other one who just got drafted?
Well, Derek Stingley's the one who just got drafted in the first round. But
where did Gardner come from? Sauce Gardner.
He's
Where did he come from? Oh my goodness, he is killing me.
He might have been Cincinnati.
No, I don't think he was Cincinnati.
I think he might have been.
Really?
Yeah. Let me look.
Okay, there's 2. But they were both drafted. That's why they're in your head. Again, Derek Stingley drafted
Cincinnati
recently. Why he's in your head? I can't think of another person. And that team was on my scope. I can't think of 2 Cal players.
But that
team was on my scope.
But you can name draftees from LSU probably one a year for the last 10 years. You can name Alabama draftees 1 a year for the last 10 years. You can't do that with Cincinnati. It's not going to happen, and it never will happen.
They just got good.
They've been pretty good. There was only ESPN behind one of them this last year, telling us how good Spencer Rattler was. And
But again, he's not. Us having a conversation about 20 guys.
And it doesn't matter because Spencer Rattler is not going to be an NFL quarterback.
Right. This is a conversation about 20 guys and not about the other 2,000 college football players.
My point was that you're going to get more exposure. Your name's going to has a better chance of being out there if you play at one of those schools as opposed to Cincinnati. That's all I'm saying. You have a much better chance of becoming a household name at one of those other schools than you do at Cincinnati.
Yeah,
and
you can stick out at a smaller school, or you can probably blend in at a bigger school.
I mean, at Oregon.
I mean, the majority of 5-stars who go to these schools, at Oregon, it's a pretty big deal. You come here, you usually get your playing time stuff. But at Alabama, 5-stars go there and disappear.
You almost
never hear from them.
But even at Oregon, to become a household name, you almost have to be a Heisman Trophy candidate. Kayvon Thibodeau, Justin Herbert, Marcus Mariota.
Right.
And otherwise, you're not getting any exposure. That's my whole point. Oregon's on that second level, as opposed to those other schools.
Well, yeah, there's like 5 schools up here. Yeah. And those are the same 5 schools that ESPN and your networks have been peddling forever. That you think is now going to just limit to. You think that it is all steering towards just 5 schools. Well, it's always been just 5 schools, and everyone else has been second tier. That's not going to change now.
Well, I'm saying is that you eliminated the chance that those other teams have any chance.
You eliminated the chance that the way farther down teams get a chance.
Right now there's a chance that Utah gets in the college football playoff. But if this continues the way it's going, that's never going to happen. They're never going to get in, and you're going to be playing for something else. So what's the point of playing if we can't play for a national championship? Why would we even have football? What are we doing?
Well, again, we're 1 year into NIL.
I know
we don't have a real impact of because last year it came out and no one moved because of it necessarily. This is the first year where players are signing with places because of NIL deals. But the receiver from Pittsburgh, you hear about this guy? Pittsburgh. Gosh, I cannot think of his name. But he's transferring. Yeah. Jordan Addison. He enters the transfer portal.
Go to USC. Maybe.
So he's got a bunch of options. USC's up there. Mm-hmm. But guess who's not up there? No, it's not Alabama. It's not Ohio State. It's not Georgia. USC is one of those big schools, but it's not one of the schools that you've more recently been familiar with. So having the ability to transfer doesn't necessarily mean you're automatically going to, and they're saying he could fetch up to $3 million in an NIL deal. Like, it doesn't necessarily mean he's going to go to one of these big schools. That was the original argument. These schools will just buy these players. Well, now any school with some money can buy these players.
But you
So
can't buy
now
as
you're
many.
picking a school. You can't buy as many. Well, I mean,
You're still going to be.
I think you can buy as many as your boosters can afford, and as many scholarships you have.
That's my point. A 7-5 team doesn't have as many boosters as a national championship contender, perennial national championship contender. You're just not going to. And so they aren't going to have as much money, and they can't afford the same level of talent that these other schools can afford.
Well, what about a school like UCLA, which has some of the richest boosters on earth? Cal.
Yeah. So
Stanford. What about these schools? These schools can absolutely afford every bit of talent they want.
And I will tell you that as long as I've been watching football, UCLA and USC, right, have pretty good fan bases.
I didn't say USC on purpose because USC has always kind of been up there as a football school.
I'm using them as an example.
Yeah.
But they're in California, there is an indifference towards sports. It is not the same as it is in Alabama. There's an indifference. I can do other things. I'm at the beach. I'm not going to be at that game because I'm going to be at the beach. I'll be somewhere else. I'll be watching this. I'll be doing this. There's other things to do. In Alabama, there is nothing else to do but football. That is all you can do. So there's an indifference from fan bases on the West Coast that there isn't elsewhere. That's just kind of a normal thing. Ever since I've been watching it, you don't see that level of commitment to that sport by the fans, by the boosters, that you do in other conferences. It's just kind of weird, but that's the way it's been.
Well, the school with the two largest booster donations in the country are Oregon and Stanford.
Okay. Because but that's that's one guy.
But that's irrelevant of who it is or how many people it is. That outshines Alabama. Outshines for donations to sports. That outshines Alabama. That outshines Georgia. That outshines Miami, which has a huge booster base. There's another one. Miami. Miami has a massive booster base.
Yeah.
And they've not been able to be successful. So the money isn't the only thing here. And I feel like that's the point that keeps getting driven as that, well, you're just going to be able to buy good players and that's it.
Yeah.
And you're going to have the best team.
And I don't.
It's like, no, I don't think that's what's going to happen.
But Miami's not one of those schools. So I would never have thought they were going to do that anyway. Miami's not a national championship school anymore. There's not even close. They keep trying to force Miami down our throat every preseason, and they're not good.
But the money is there is the point.
Doesn't matter. They are not good enough. Their program's not good enough. Even if they got the right players, they're not good enough. It's just not. And why would you go to Miami, who's going to finish 8-4, when you could go to some other school who's going to finish 12-1?
If you feel like you can make Miami better than 8-4, that's why you go
Every
there.
player thinks they can make that team better. Every player who's worth his salt thinks he can make Alabama better.
Right.
I don't want to go to Miami when I can go to Alabama. I just don't want to.
Alabama has a limited number of spots.
Understood. But LSU, Alabama, Notre Dame, who they keep forcing at us too, but let's be honest, they're not really. Anyway.
Hey, there's a great example. Another school being jammed down our throats that hasn't been able to hack it.
Right.
Notre Dame. They've got money. They've got resources. They've got TV time, and it still doesn't matter.
Right.
It's eliminating the point that money is going to buy the wins, buy the players. Because it's just not working. What you're saying is,
if they would already be good,
what you're saying is you have to be elite.
Yes,
and then you can be more elite.
That's what's going to happen. That's what's coming. Absolutely.
So what you're saying is we're still going to get Alabama, Georgia. We're still going to get Ohio State, Georgia. It's not going to change. It's no different yesterday
what I'm telling,
than it was in 10 years.
It's going to separate Oregon, Michigan, Notre Dame, Miami. Those are no longer viable playoff contenders. You're going to have 5 teams, and that is it. That's what I'm telling you. It's not about everybody has a chance anymore. It is only these teams. Right now, those other teams have a chance to play for a national championship. That is never going to happen. In 5 years, that's not going to happen.
Why would they
anymore.
not?
Because they don't have both things. They're not Alabama. They're not
but
LSU.
Why would you not? Why would you not have the ability to play for it?
Because you won't have the players anymore. You won't have the talent.
You can't win because you don't have the talent, is what you're getting at. Is that they're going to buy the talent, and that's just going to destroy you.
It's coming. Yes. I'm not saying right now. Don't talk about right now. I'm talking about 5 years down the road when all this blows up in everyone's face.
I'm thinking you're talking about 30 years down the road. When
no,
it's not,
5.
It's not even the same.
5 years. It's going to take 5 years. 5 years it'll happen.
So in 5 years, when Alabama is playing for a title like they have for the past decade,
You can keep.
you're going to
You
be
keep.
like,
Why
hey,
do you
look at
keep
that.
using the one team that is not even in? It's a moot point to put Alabama in that discussion. They're always going to be there. I've already said they're going to be there. They're always going to be in that discussion because ESPN loves Alabama, and Alabama has nothing to do but football. Right? How many Alabama professional sports teams are there?
So you're saying that everyone's hamstrung anyways. Like Alabama's got this terrible crap situation around them because they're the only thing in this little place.
Yeah.
But on the plus side, they've got football, so it doesn't matter how much NIL or not NIL or whatever's around. They're going to be full in on that. Period. So Alabama's going to be great, exceptional, no matter what. Done deal. That is irrelevant of NIL as it was, and it's going to be irrelevant of NIL as it will be.
Right.
It's
which
just
is
going
why
to
we
happen,
don't talk about Alabama because we don't need to.
Right. So then you're moving on to the next group of people. Ohio State.
Ohio State's in that upper tier.
Yeah, Ohio State's. Oh, you're saying they're up there with Alabama?
Yep.
Oh, so is Georgia up there with Alabama?
Probably. No.
Texas?
No, because Texas
because they haven't been good.
Because they're not good, and they're about to move into the SEC and lose more games.
Oklahoma? They've been very good lately.
Oklahoma just lost their head coach, and now we'll see what happens.
Well, they lost a head coach a couple years ago too, and they stayed good.
They lost that. Yeah. Okay. It's different. This is different.
It seems different.
Lincoln Riley was good for them. And
so is USC now in that tier?
Maybe, but we don't know that. They haven't won anything yet. He hasn't done anything there yet. Yes, their coach will bring the players. He already has.
Yeah.
But they have to prove it on the field before it becomes a permanent thing. And until they're back to where they were during Pete Carroll,
right,
they won't be in that discussion. That's what I'm saying. Because a 9-3 USC team is a failure. Let's admit it. Everybody's going to say that. Oh, they were 9-3. Well, that's, we didn't win anything. We didn't win our division. We didn't go to a playoff game. We went to a bowl game. That's a failure, right? Ohio State, if they don't get in the college football playoff, that's the failure,
right?
Not a 9-3 team. That's a firing offense. Being 9-3. So there's a different level of standards right now. USC doesn't have it yet. They had it, and then they lost it because they were cheating, and now it's not cheating anymore. So they might get it back, but they still have to prove it on the field before I'll anoint them as a national championship contender.
Right.
Because they haven't been able to. Anyway, we can talk about this more.
Yeah. We'll talk about it more in 5 years.
In 5 years, we'll know for sure.
We're going to have a lot of answers. Well, this year we're going to get a couple answers in terms of young freshman guys.
Right.
But as everything I'm seeing so far, that it's just made it more competitive. You got guys going places for money. Yeah, but that doesn't mean they won't perform.
Right, they got to be able to perform there. That's the thing.
Yeah, well, I mean, they got to be able to perform there if they go there not for money. It doesn't matter. They got to be able to perform, period. But now they're getting paid, which almost incentivizes you to do it.
How many Heisman Trophy New York invitees have there been in the last, 30 years that came from a losing team?
That doesn't.
Yeah, hold on. It does. If I go to your school and play for you because you offer me $10 million in NIL deal and we go 5-7, I am not going to be in New York no matter how good I am because our team sucks. That's what I'm saying.
Agreed.
Exposure
that's
is part of this whole thing. I need to be able to be. You need to see me and know that I'm good, and that's not going to happen on a 5-7 team.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I think what you really should be saying here is how many Heisman Trophy winners have come from a team that wasn't necessarily competing for the title.
I'm asking just about losing schools. How come there's never been a nominee, a finalist?
Because if you're that good, usually your team's not that
bad.
I
can't make my team win every game if I'm playing cornerback. It's not a chance.
Are there a lot of cornerbacks that win it?
1, 2. It's happened. But what I'm saying is they're not from losing schools. And how many quarterbacks from a losing school? None. Why? Oh, well, you should be able to affect the game. Well, my team's not very good, but I could be the best quarterback in the history of quarterbacks. But my team's not that good. Does that mean I'm not going to be a great NFL player? Does that mean I'm not worthy of winning the Heisman Trophy? If I wasn't here, we'd have been 0-12. Right. I am way more valuable than that other guy who's playing, in a system where he only has to throw the ball 6 times a game, but they're all touchdown passes because they have the number 1, 2, and 3 wide receivers in the country.
Well, yeah, that's a whole other discussion about why your quarterback might be good or why your receiver might be good. But but the bottom line is that no, you're not. If a team is bad, more than likely, most of the players on the team are not that great.
Is a 5-7 team bad?
I would say kind of indiscernibly, yeah.
It's
pretty bad.
If I lost 3 games by 1 point and we were very close to being 8-4,
tough looks, but you might get the credit if your stats are impressive enough.
That's what I'm getting at. Is they're still not getting invited. A guy with a losing record is not getting invited, no matter how good he is.
No. He could agree, not with a losing record, because you're not just talking about a 9-3 guy. There've been a bunch of 9-3 guys invited to New York. There's been no 5-5 guys, no 6-6 guys.
Right. What I'm saying is there's a level. And the NCAA, the Heisman Trophy Committee, says you must win and be successful. The team must win, regardless of whether you're winning. It doesn't really matter. We don't care if you're that good. If the team isn't undefeated because you were the quarterback, there's a good chance you're going to be invited, or at least be on the list for the Heisman, no matter whether you did it or not. You could just hand the ball off to Derrick Henry 30 times a game, but you're going to be up there because you're an undefeated quarterback. Well, yeah, but I have the best running game in the country and the top 3 wide receivers, and all I have to do is chuck the ball every once in a while. A guy catches it, he runs for a touchdown. I am great. Look at how good I am. That's not true, but you're still going to get more notice. You're going to get a higher draft pick, right? Yeah. That's just how it works because people are already impressed with what you've been able to do. Even, they don't look deep enough to me. I'm just saying. Anyway, that's what I would think those players will pick the best chance to get exposure. All right, we gotta get moving because you're already late.
Yep.
So anyway, final the best line sports show trivia question was right since the 16-team playoff format expanded in 1984 in the NBA. How many times has the number 1 and 2 seeds from both conferences reached the conference finals with every series being won according to seed? How many times has that happened in 39 playoff seasons?
I'm gonna say 1.
Just 1. You're absolutely right. 1986. Is the only time that's ever happened. So the seeding's kind of irrelevant. It's kind of the way I look at it because somebody's going to upset somebody. And then the second part of that question was separate question. Regardless of seeding, how many times have the number 1 seeds from both conferences played in the finals since 1984?
I'm going to guess once.
11 times.
Oh.
So what I'm telling you.
So it's not entirely irrelevant.
the number one seeds are super important.
Yeah.
But everything else is garbage because there's upsets galore.
Being good is super important.
Yeah, being good is super important. That's right. So that's happened 11 times, but only once that the number 1 and 2 seeds both made it from both conferences. And in that year, in 86, it wasn't 1 versus 1. It was 1 versus 2. So in the finals. So that one wasn't even a 1-1. Anyway, so the last time that happened for the number 1 seeds was 2016 Cleveland Golden State, by the way. Both number 1 seeds in their conference. There you go.
Right.
So
that makes sense.
So, excuse me, I'm sorry. That kind of snuck up on me. So, that's all we have for today. We'll be back next week. Lots of stuff to talk about. We're still going to talk about NBA playoffs, the NHL playoffs, Formula 1 race in Miami, MLS soccer with the Timbers, maybe our USFL update, a lot more stuff. We're streaming on YouTube. We're not streaming. We're on YouTube every week. I post it, and I post a Facebook post. Everybody probably knows where to find it. But anyway, we're on Twitter at Lamb Sports, on Facebook under the Best Lamb Sports Show. You can email us, lambsports@gmail.com. I want to thank ESPN, Fox Sports, NBC Sports, CBS Sports, NFL, NCAA, NHL, NBA, MLS, USFL. That's too many. F1. And of course, our sponsors, the Range and Yakima, Boston Yarns, Davidson Wine Estates, in Hood River. This has been a Brain Rock production, a division of Lonely Tree Media, LLC, and thanks for listening.